The image that broke the internet wasn't a spike, a block, or a celebration. It was a single static shot of Lucas the Lion Ferreira, the 6'8" Brazilian superstar, the MVP of the last 3 World Championships, the man with a $10 million Nike contract, curled up in the fetal position on the baseline of the Mall of Asia arena. His famous golden jersey was soaked through, not just with sweat, but with the tears of a man whose reality had just shattered. Just 3 hours earlier, Lucas had entered the arena dancing the samba, blowing kisses to the crowd, and filming a TikTok video where he jokingly asked, "Is the net lower today, or are my opponents just invisible?" He was the god of volleyball, descending from Olympus to crush a team of mortals. But as the final buzzer sounded, the god was human. He was shaking, his face buried in his hands, utterly broken, while the invisible opponents celebrated a miracle around him. To understand why a giant like Lucas Ferreira was reduced to a puddle of tears, you have to understand the sheer arrogance of the Brazilian machine. Brazil isn't just a team, they are a dynasty. They play volleyball with a swagger that borders on disrespect. They don't just beat you, they perform for the cameras while doing it. Lucas was the ringleader. He was known for his thunderbolt serve, a 130 kilometers per hour weapon that could break wrists. To him, the Philippines men's team wasn't an opponent. They were a scheduling error. Ranked 58th in the world, the Filipinos were significantly shorter, lacked the funding, and were known mostly for their heart, not their height. Lucas had dismissed them entirely. He didn't even watch the scouting report. He spent the pre-game massage session playing video games, telling his coach, "Wake me up for the medal ceremony." The disrespect started 24 hours before the match during a press conference that would become infamous. A reporter asked Lucas about the Philippines' unique fast ball play style. Lucas laughed, a loud, booming laugh that echoed in the room. He leaned back in his chair, put his feet on the table and said, "Fast? Chihuahuas are fast, but lions don't worry about Chihuahuas. Look, I love the Philippines, great mangoes, but volleyball? This is a sport for giants. They should stick to basketball or maybe sepak takraw. If they block me even once, I will retire. Seriously, write that down." He winked at the cameras. It was a joke to him. But in the Philippines, that clip was played on every jeepney radio, every TV station, and every smartphone. He hadn't just insulted a team, he had insulted the dugo, blood of the nation. In the Philippine locker room, there was no fear. There was only a cold, simmering rage. The head coach, a quiet man who had coached in the barangays, villages for decades, projected Lucas's quote on the wall, "If they block me even once, I will retire." He didn't give a speech. He just pointed at the quote. The team captain, Brian the Rocket Cruz, a 5'9" setter with legs like hydraulic pistons, stood up. "He thinks we are Chihuahuas," Brian said, lacing up his worn-out sneakers. "He thinks we are too small." "Good. He won't see us coming. We don't need to be tall. We need to be fast. We need to be annoying. We need to make him hate the game of volleyball." The team huddled. Their chant wasn't loud, it was a whisper. Puso, Puso, Puso. Hard, hard, hard. The teams entered the court. The contrast was staggering. The Brazilian team looked like Greek statues carved from granite. Towering, muscular, perfect posture. Lucas was doing a no-look spike during warm-ups, screaming at the ceiling, hyping up the crowd. The Philippine team looked like a group of college students. They were giving up an average of 5 inches per player. During the handshake at the net, Lucas didn't even look Brian in the eye. He looked over Brian's head, smirking at his own teammates. He refused to shake Brian's hand firmly, offering a limp, dead fish hand instead. It was the ultimate sign of dismissal. "Nice shoes," Lucas whispered sarcastically, looking at Brian's older model sneakers. "Try not to trip." Set 1 was a massacre. Brazil came out firing cannons. Lucas's serve was blurring past the Philippine receivers before they could even blink. Ace, ace, ace. The score was 8-0 in 2 minutes. The crowd, initially hopeful, went silent. Lucas was putting on a show. After every point, he did a little samba dance, shaking his hips, pointing to his biceps. He was mocking them. He spiked a ball so hard it bounced off the floor and hit the ceiling. He turned to the Philippine blockers and yelled, "Too small! Use a ladder!" The set ended 25-13. It wasn't a game, it was an exhibition. The Philippine players walked to the bench looking shell-shocked. The gap in power was terrifying. Set 2 followed the same script. Brazil led 16-10. Lucas was subbed out to rest because the coach felt the game was already over. He sat on the bench laughing, taking selfies with fans in the front row while the game was still going on. But without Lucas's oppressive presence, the Philippines started to breathe. Brian, the captain, gathered his team. "Look at him," he pointed at Lucas taking selfies. "He is laughing at us. Stop respecting the jersey. They are just men. Make them work." The Philippines started playing Barangay Style, unorthodox, chaotic, and scrappy. They stopped trying to block with height and started digging with speed. The shift happened at 20-15. A Brazilian spiker crushed a ball down the line. It should have been a kill, but the Philippine libero, known as the Spider, anticipated it. He didn't use his hands. He realized he couldn't reach it in time, so he instinctively kicked his leg out, a move from sepak takraw. The ball popped off his foot, flew high into the air, and the setter adjusted. The crowd gasped. The Philippines converted the point. It was ugly, it was weird, but it worked. Lucas, watching from the bench, stopped taking selfies. He frowned. That wasn't real volleyball. That was street ball. But the point counted. The Philippines lost the set 25-22, but the momentum had shifted. The fear was gone. Set 3. Lucas returned to the court, annoyed that the game wasn't over yet. He wanted to crush this rebellion. He called for the ball immediately. "Me! Me!" he screamed. He jumped, a massive, terrifying leap. He swung with everything he had. But the Philippine blockers, the Twin Towers, who were only 6 feet 2 inches, didn't try to block the ball. They soft-blocked, just touching it to slow it down. The ball popped up. The Spider dove and kept it alive. The rally extended. Lucas spiked again. Dig. Lucas spiked again. Dig. He was getting frustrated. He was used to one hit, one kill. Now he had to work. On the 4th attempt, Lucas tried to tip the ball over the block. Brian, the 5'9" setter, read it. He jumped and pushed the ball back into Lucas's chest. Point Philippines. Lucas stared at the small setter, confused. The Chihuahua had just bitten the lion. The Philippines took set 3, 26-24. The arena exploded. The noise was deafening. It sounded like a jet engine taking off. The Brazilians were arguing with each other. Lucas was screaming at his setter, blaming him for the placement. The perfect team was cracking. The Philippine players were smiling, high-fiving, and dancing to the drum beats of the crowd. They were having fun. Lucas was not. He was sweating profusely, his face red with anger. He realized these tourists weren't going away. They were dragging him into deep waters, and he was starting to cramp. Set 4 was a dogfight. Lucas went into God mode, scoring points through sheer willpower. But every time he scored, the Philippines answered with a combination play, fast, low sets that confused the tall Brazilian blockers. The Philippines were running plays that didn't exist in the textbooks. They were crossing, faking, dropping. It was guerrilla warfare against a conventional army. The score was tied 20-20, 22-22, 24-24. Lucas missed a serve. It sailed long. Set point Philippines. The next rally, the Philippine spiker used the Brazilian block against them, wiping the ball off Lucas's fingers. 26-24 Philippines. We were going to a 5th set. The impossible was happening. The 5th set, the tiebreaker, 1-15. The atmosphere was heavy, suffocating. Lucas looked tired. His jumps were an inch lower. His snaps were a split second slower. The Philippines, fueled by pure adrenaline and the screams of 15,000 fans, looked like they could run a marathon. The score was 8-8, then 10-10. Lucas looked at the scoreboard, his eyes wide. He was actually in danger of losing to the team he mocked. The pressure was a physical weight on his shoulders. The Lion was scared. At 13-13, the most crucial moment of the match arrived. Brazil served. The Philippines received. Brian, the setter, saw Lucas cheating towards the middle, expecting a quick attack. Brian faked the set, froze Lucas, and then backset the ball to the opposite spiker who had no block. Boom, kill, 14-13. Match point Philippines. The entire country held its breath. 1 point away from the greatest upset in volleyball history. The final point, Philippines served. A safe serve. Brazil received perfectly. The setter looked at Lucas. There was no other choice. It had to be him. Lucas called for the ball, screaming, "Aki! Aki! Here! Here!" He approached the net like a freight train. He jumped. He cocked his arm back to deliver the thunderbolt that would save his legacy. But on the other side of the net, the Philippine captain, Brian, and the middle blocker timed it perfectly. They didn't jump high. They jumped forward, pressing their hands over the net, invading Lucas's airspace. Lucas swung. The ball left his hand at 120 kilometers per hour. It met the four hands of the Philippine block. Thwack! The sound was like a gunshot. The ball didn't ricochet out. It was a monster block. It went straight down, straight back into Lucas's face. It hit his nose and bounced to the floor on the Brazilian side. The whistle blew. Game over. The Chihuahuas had blocked the lion. The prophecy was fulfilled. If they block me, I will retire. Pandemonium. The Philippine players collapsed in a heap of joy, crying, hugging, screaming. The crowd was shaking the foundation of the arena, but the camera zoomed in on the other side. Lucas Ferreira stood frozen for a second, processing what had just happened. The ball was still rolling near his feet. He looked at the scoreboard. Philippines 3, Brazil 2. The invincibility was gone. The ego was dead. Lucas's knees gave out. He didn't just sit, he crumpled. He fell to the floor, pulling his jersey over his face. His shoulders began to heave. The great Lucas Ferreira, the man who laughed at his opponents, was sobbing. Deep, guttural sobs. It wasn't just the loss, it was the shame. He had promised to destroy them, and instead they had exposed him. He felt every word of his insult coming back to haunt him. He was alone on an island of regret, surrounded by the noise of the victory he was supposed to take. His teammates tried to lift him up, but he was dead weight. He was inconsolable. He kept shaking his head, muttering in Portuguese, "Não pode ser, não pode ser." It cannot be. He stayed there for what felt like an eternity. The celebration on the other side was loud, but Lucas was in a silent bubble of his own making. The god had fallen to earth, and the impact was devastating. Then the moment that went viral for the right reasons. Brian, the Philippine captain, saw Lucas broken on the floor. He broke away from his celebrating teammates. He walked under the net. The crowd quieted down, unsure of what was happening. Brian approached the sobbing giant. He didn't gloat. He didn't shout. "Who is the Chihuahua now?" He knelt down next to Lucas. He placed a hand on Lucas's heaving back. Lucas flinched, expecting mockery. He looked up, his eyes red, tears streaming down his face, snot running from his nose. He saw Brian, the man he had refused to shake hands with. Brian offered his hand again. This time there was no sarcasm. Brian simply said, "Great game. You pushed us to be our best. Respect, brother." Lucas stared at the hand of the underdog, the hand of the tourist. Slowly, tremblingly, Lucas reached out. He grasped Brian's hand. He didn't just shake it. He pulled Brian into a hug. The giant wept into the shoulder of the smaller man. In that embrace, the arrogance died and a human being was born. Lucas whispered, "I am sorry. You are giants. You are giants." The post-game interview was heartbreaking. Lucas refused to hide. He stood there, eyes swollen, voice cracking. "I disrespected the game," he told the world. "I thought I was bigger than the sport. I thought height made me a king. Today the Philippines showed me that a king is not crowned by his size, but by his spirit. They blocked me. They stopped me. They humbled me. I don't deserve to be the MVP today. They do." The image of Lucas sobbing on the floor became a symbol not of failure, but of a hard-learned lesson. It reminded the world that in sports and in life, Goliath doesn't always win. Sometimes David has a better strategy, a bigger heart, and a refuse-to-lose attitude. The Philippines didn't just win a volleyball match that day. They won the respect of the entire world. And somewhere in a gym in Rio, months later, Lucas Ferreira was seen training. But he wasn't practicing his spikes. He was practicing his defense, and on his wall next to his gold medals, he had pinned a picture. It wasn't a picture of himself. It was a picture of the Philippine block that stopped him. He kept it there as a reminder. Never underestimate the heart of a champion, no matter how small they look.
Back in the Philippines, the victory set off a national celebration that rivaled New Year's Eve. The video of the monster block on Lucas became a digital monument, shared millions of times within hours. Jeepney drivers honked in rhythm. Barangay courts were flooded with kids trying to replicate the Spider's kick save, and the hashtag #PusoOverhype trended globally. It wasn't just a sports win. It was vindication for every overseas Filipino worker, OFW, who had ever felt small in a foreign land. They saw themselves in that team, outmatched, overworked, but never outfought. The Spider Libero and the Twin Towers blockers became instant legends, their faces plastered on billboards along EDSA. Yet, true to the culture that forged them, they refused to let the fame go to their heads. In their homecoming press conference, when asked if they hated Lucas, they simply smiled. "Hate is heavy," Brian said. "We travel light. We just wanted to show him that respect is earned, not given. The floor doesn't care how tall you are, it only cares how hard you dive." They proved that humility is the most dangerous weapon of all. For Lucas, the loss was a painful catalyst for profound transformation. He didn't retire, despite his arrogant promise. Instead, he started a foundation for underprivileged kids in Rio, teaching them volleyball not as a way to dominate, but as a way to build character. In a documentary filmed 5 years later, a graying Lucas admitted that the loss to the Philippines saved his soul. "I was a rich kid with a poor spirit," he said, looking at the camera. "That match broke my ego so that I could finally build my heart." This story serves as a stark warning to anyone who thinks talent alone is enough to conquer the world. Talent without respect is a glass cannon, powerful but fragile. Arrogance creates blind spots. Lucas was so focused on looking down on his opponents that he didn't see them rising up to hit him in the mouth. He forgot the golden rule of competition. The moment you think you are too good to lose, you have already lost. The universe is a funny way of humbling those who refuse to humble themselves. So, the next time you see a giant facing an underdog, don't assume the outcome based on the stat sheet. Don't look at the height difference, the budget, or the rankings. Look at the eyes. Look at the heart. Because sometimes, the giant has feet of clay, and the underdog has a heart of steel forged in the fire of struggle. The Philippines men's team proved that on a humid night in Manila, leaving the king of volleyball sobbing on the court he thought he owned. As the lights dimmed in the Mall of Asia arena that night, the janitors swept the floor where Lucas's tears had fallen. The scoreboard was turned off, but the memory remained burned into the atmosphere. Philippines 3, Brazil 2. It was a permanent reminder to the world. You can mock our height. You can mock our facilities. You can call us Chihuahuas. But never, ever mock our heart. Because when you wake up the Filipino spirit, you might just find yourself on your knees, wondering how the small team made you feel so incredibly small.